What are we playing? Unchained. Oh my God!
In honor of Aaron.
Ow.
Yeah,
that's right. Well, you should have
Unchained. We're gonna get Unchained, right?
There's just a lot of love for Van Halen on the show.
What's not to love about Van Halen?
What's not to love? Exactly. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Good times.
Yeah.
Woohoo! It's episode 200.
Yes. Where are all the AI explosions and stuff like that?
Yeah, I don't know. This is awesome. And we got ClearBlade on the show today. Oh my God.
For having us for episode 200. We feel honored.
We are thrilled to have you here. Eric and Aaron.
Should be.
Yeah. Even though no one recognizes Aaron, you know.
Mystery guest.
Everyone's favorite IoT CTO seems to be missing in action. We don't know who this other guy is. But,
an imposter.
We didn't know he had a twin brother.
Yeah.
He's an imposter that embraces digital twins. There's been a drop.
What?
We got a battle, right? We got a battle.
Yeah.
So why are you embracing digital twins? Is this a marketing thing? Is this a show riding in the wave thing?
You know, I rewrote the definition. We rewrote the definition and we got happy with it. Right? We connected them.
Digital twins, right?
Yeah.
You connected them. Okay.
Connected them. There's a string and a couple of cans, and now they're connected.
Well, that's it in a nutshell. 2 cans in the string, physical twin, digital twin, string, boom, Bob's your uncle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, hey, before we get started, full disclosure here, because we are exploding on Buzzsprout in the podcast universe. I just found out if we have like 10,000 downloads, there's many more listens. So thanks to all our listeners out there. We want to share and express our appreciation for that on our 200th episode. But remember, take us seriously at your own friggin' risk, okay? You know, nothing that is said on this show is done with any degree of you go out and buy something, okay? No. We're just having fun here. And
this is the backward forward thinking statement.
Yeah. It's the backward thinking or the twisted thinking statement.
Oh my God.
And thanks to Eric and Aaron and the folks at ClearBlade for donating to our charity. Okay, none of us make a dime on this show. Okay, we give all our money and our contributions to elevateourkids.org, which is our charity to help bridge the digital equity divide. Okay, this is so that, you know, kids K through 12 can participate in the digital everything that we also love on IoT Coffee Talk and all other tech shows.
Great cause.
There you go.
Great
Laptops and internet connectivity for underserved, under-resourced communities. Thanks to Stephanie for getting that started.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's the queen.
She's the queen of charity.
Stephanie, where are you right now?
I'm in Miramar Beach, Florida.
Miramar Beach, Florida. All right. Wow.
Nice.
That doesn't suck.
Are you flying jets? Are you meeting Tom Cruise and flying jets?
Oh my God.
Could be worse.
Oh, I guess it's the wrong Miramar, Eric.
Oh, I know.
Well. She's not in San Diego.
Yeah.
So since this is a sponsored episode, we actually have an agenda, but believe it or not, I mean, we don't do well with structure, but
no, we never have an agenda.
But hey, Aaron, why don't you, I mean, for those very few people who don't know who ClearBlade is, why don't you guys take a moment to share with our audience who ClearBlade is and why you guys are so revolutionary and disruptive.
Well, so we're an IoT software company. We're kind of one of the OG IoT software companies. We go way back. IoT, edge, and AI. Of course, you've got to say AI, but we allow you to run AI at the edge.
Take a shot, everybody.
Yeah, take a shot at us.
Exactly.
I'm fortunate enough to have very smart people like Aaron that believed in my vision and then was able to implement a much better vision around the software. So we believe in open middleware connectivity and kind of play nice with others, because it's the only way you're going to have success in this market.
Wow.
Oh my God, he said kumbaya.
Aaron, is he full of it or what? Can you corroborate?
Man, he says it, and like 3 years later, you build it, right? That's how it works, right? So
yeah. Oh my God.
Aaron's like, I build it. I'm right in the middle of it.
Right. No, yes. Yeah. Aaron, you built the whole thing in IBM Visual Age, is that right?
Yeah, we moved over a little bit to WebSphere Studio after a while.
You moved to WebSphere Studio, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You can look up articles that I wrote in the 90s about Visual Age, and there you go, I'm aging myself. Yeah. I loved visual programming in the 90s, which is why it doesn't exist in today's world. It just doesn't scale.
Oh, I love visual programming. Like Visual Basic.
Yeah,
in the 90s.
Power Builder.
Power Builder. Love. Remember the data window in Power Builder? Yeah. Yeah. That was every oil company in Houston was using that.
I mean, I had a sports car, I had hair, and I would live in San Francisco. Life was good.
Life was good in the 90s, and now it's like, you're having to work hard for a living.
Yes.
Okay. So what is, all right. So what's differentiates, I mean, I know this is kind of putting you on the spot. There are so many IoT companies, so many IoT platforms, as we have seen over the years. We've seen a lot of consolidation or a lot of IoT deaths out there. They're just gone. And I have to say, just to be a devil's advocate, when I look at 30,000 feet at a lot of IoT platforms, they're all pretty much the same to me.
Yep.
They really are. What's different about ClearBlade? Is it marketing? Do you have a better sales force? Do you have a better pitch?
Nothing against our sales force, but no.
Okay. Aaron's hair.
I'm going to let Aaron answer this one.
Okay.
And then they tag on.
Yeah. We all look the same if you read our docs, right? I think it's super confusing. I actually was thinking about it. I loved the moment when telemetry became AWS because it validated us all. But boy, did it make a mess of what the expectation should be and what the marketing should say. Where we're different, every one of those solutions you could build on us and we could scale it and run it. And I think that's what's different, right? Because that means we're flexible. That means we don't care where your data ends up streaming. We can stream it to your cloud of choice. We can run it on your cloud of choice. I think that's what makes us different, is we're flexible enough to meet what people want to do and integrate with what they've already got and use the systems they've already used for how they want to look at their data. And then we're going to innovate, keep innovating. So we do start to whisper the words AI because we do see some inferencing happening, right? In the real world. That's our differentiator, is we make it really work, and we're flexible enough for the different use cases.
But guys, like an Azure IoT Central that's actually supported and works.
Hey, wait, dude. For once in your life, you're not that loud, which is weird. But
yeah, Pete.
Pete's got to turn up the gain.
I would say too, ClearBlade. There's so many IoT companies and businesses and services and solutions out there. I think what differentiates anyone out there is that you have real live customers. I mean, it's so basic.
My God.
Shots fired.
Yeah. And we made a choice very early not to build on anyone else's IP. So we said, look, we are going to build completely portable software that can run on Linux anywhere, whether it's on-prem, whether it's in anyone's cloud, whether it's at the edge. And we feel like that's very differentiated and unique. And we made it as open as possible because, again, I come from the old mainframe and client server world, which is you got to let data flow to wherever the customer wants it to go, right? And we've proven it across multiple industries, some very hard ones like Class 1 rail and aerospace. And then with the Google deprecation, we saw an opportunity to do a land grab, and that's exactly what we did. We built IoT Core out of our enterprise software and then gave a free migration offering to the community, and that's what allowed us to capture most of those customers.
Made it easy.
So, Eric, can you give us a report card on that? Like how?
Sure.
Just give us an update on that one.
So I think I'll be honest with you, we were thrown into a snake pit. I mean, we weren't expected to crawl out of that. And I think it was just like survival of the fittest, and what we were able to do better than others was one, give this free migration tool, because we're a bunch of nerdy engineers. We used to do enterprise modernization, just like we were going back to old client server. We did this stuff on mainframes, converting A to base natural, and oh my gosh, can go over 4GLs. So we saw this and said, okay, let's give the customer what they want. Let's make it walk like a duck, talk like a duck, price it like the duck, so they get the same service, but the underpinnings are very different with ClearBlade. We're manically committed to updating that software on a regular basis, to making sure we move the software forward. We honor the MQTT5 spec. These are things that weren't being done by Google, and that was the old Xively code, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a focus thing, right? And again, nothing against the hyperscalers. They've got stuff that we really need. It's just a focus of you either survive or die in IoT. So to survive, you better innovate.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not even just picking on hyperscalers that didn't make it. There's a lot of IoT players that haven't made it. And when I say they all look the same, you connect your thing, you got some kind of SDK, you're sending it over some kind of wire protocol, some data format, you probably go into a message queue of some kind, then you send it on its way. Maybe you're hydrating digital twins, maybe not. Maybe you've got topics if you're doing MQTT. There's a whole lot of sameness. They're all middleware platforms, and they may provide their own analytics. Sometimes they say, no, we're connect to your own or whatever. And so that's why I'm just always genuinely curious, in a world of real sameness, how somebody works out and someone else doesn't work out, you know?
I'll add one thing to it, is we cut the service cord a long time ago, which is really scary. So it meant we're walking on a wire without a net. That meant we had to be really good at software and let others do the service work. And what I saw in the marketplace was a lot of what I would call serviceware. They've all pieced together, and look, these are very smart people. They pieced together similar architectures with different cloud parts, but in essence, they were all the same, because at scale, they really had trouble. And maintenance was a real issue.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know,
I don't know if my microphone is working yet. Is it working? Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah,
I was going to say, one of the cool things about ClearBlade, well, my first snarky comment was, this must be like Azure IoT Central. It actually works and supported. That was my snark comment. But the other comment, more serious comment, is like, in this kind of multi-cloud, multi-edge world, having a provider like you guys who can kind of, go on-prem, near-prem, different clouds, different devices is kind of crucial, and kind of buying that and betting on that from one cloud provider is probably not as smart of a decision as going with someone like you guys. So,
and Pete, you said the F word, which is flexibility. That is what we get praised for. Like when we ask our customers, what do you like most about us besides Aaron's hair? It's hey, look, you don't force us into like using every aspect of ClearBlade. We can use these different pieces,
right? And
I can retain all this other stuff I built prior and decide what to move and what not to move. That's usually the biggest compliment we get.
Leonard, you were talking without your microphone on, just by the way.
You're mute.
Yeah, you're on mute.
Oh, no, I was saying that Pete's mic was hot, but he has definitely proved that we don't do any technical, any mic check before we start the show. Yeah, there's no net to the show. It's like press go and you get what you get. But I'll just add, I think Stephanie nailed it. You guys have customers, and it takes a long time to get customers. Yeah. And without customers, you get no experience. Without experience, you really can't innovate in a direction that can scale. So, I've always thought was pretty impressive about what you guys do. Because, I mean, it's just like friggin', you're working really hard at it and trying to figure out where you fit.
Yeah. I'll tell you, that's why Aaron had to cut his hair. Boy, the sleepless nights. I mean, I'm really, you got to applaud this guy. What he did in 3 regions around the world, ingesting, millions of devices over the last several months with Google was absolutely insane. So, Aaron, kudos to you.
Yeah.
That was amazing work.
I mean, that was a big thing you guys did, and it has paid off for you as you went after the shutdown of Google's IoT Core. And like, I'm sure a lot of other people are like, oh yeah, we'll take those customers, but you went the extra mile. You made some kind of click a button magic happen.
You made it. You were at the right time at the right moment, no? With the right technology.
Yeah, and
it was about to jump on that Microsoft thing.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well,
next one up, isn't it? Oh, look at Eric. Look at he's dancing over there.
I've been asked to quiet down. Let's just say by certain people.
Yeah, we know you get excited.
To heck with those people.
There's some crazy things happening. I want to know all the juice.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to do some work with those people, so I don't want to upset those people.
You know, it's funny this week, not that anybody knows or cares, but, so Microsoft has this thing called their MVP program, and they're all external people who do a lot of stuff. And so they're having that this week. And so I was speaking at an MVP thing last night that was around IoT, and I talked about digital twins, but one of the people there was a person from that team who helped build the rules engine for IoT Central. And so, needless to say, we had a lot of interesting conversations about stuff. And my takeaway, Sam George was a big proponent of IoT Central, and I have to say I was right there 100% with him. Because prior to that, it was, here's this IoT hub thing, and then wire it together with some other things and wire it together. And after a while, the customers are like, if you're going to have me write so much code to build something, why am I even wasting my time taking dependencies on you? And so I was actually a fan of what they were trying to accomplish with IoT Central. The easy button, make it simple to onboard people and get their stuff done. I don't know why it didn't work out, to be honest with you. Who knows? What do you think?
I was waiting for Aaron to say something there.
Yeah, I leaned into that tool. I thought it was awesome, right? It hit a bunch of things. The library of devices and investment that others put into it was stellar. I still think it was back to your point of, if I'm going to do all this work, it still had that nerd developer going on, and then it was trying to make this other user involved, and it was all in the same spot. And I think you didn't you weren't meeting the same user with the same story, although you were kind of solving problems. But I just felt like it was this developer operator hybrid role every time I tried to use it, of who am I when I'm in this tool? That's my
that's your takeaway. I thought it was great progress versus just completely roll your own with IoT Hub.
Oh and there's so much in there. There's
a lot in there, and it's a descent. All my friends from Italy from the Solaire acquisition that thing is a descendant from Solaire, which is one of the early SaaS IoT platforms. And so, I thought they did great work. And so, gosh, but you know how big companies, sometimes they just like, all right, we're done.
Companies have to make a lot of money. That's what they have to do. So
yes. And maybe that's the thing. I know I keep prying here about why is ClearBlade successful and others aren't, when they're all so similar. And you're telling me some things, and the things you're telling me, I've heard those things before too, and so I start to go: is it the business model? Is it a leaner structure that your company has? Sometimes it's not about the technology. Why
operations?
You win. I think we're certainly built to help customers scale that are really committed, right? So we end up finding customers that aren't necessarily just dabbling in a free tier. In a lot of cases, the customers really want to do something, and then we support them from 1,000 devices to 250,000 devices without a lot of disruption. I think that means we end up finding a customer set that grows with us. That was the compliment you gave us, and we actually have customers. We're not abandoning them 25,000 devices in, right, when suddenly it doesn't work anymore. So maybe that's the secret sauce of we're there and ready to go with them, and we're kind of picking and choosing the ones that are doing that.
And I'll add that we came at this with an edge first approach way back in 2013, and I remember talking with folks about edge, and they're just like, we don't know what you mean, except for the hardware folks, right? And we're like, well, we believe that this is going to pendulum swing back to the edge. So our runtime is identical on both ends of the spectrum, in the cloud and at the edge. And I'll be honest, I've yet to see that elsewhere in the ecosystem.
I remember you talking about having the synchronization engine early on. And so is what you meant by that is, here's this edge thing, and data's coming in here, and then you synchronize it with your backend, your core, your cloud, your whatever. Okay.
It's that, but also the software that ran in the cloud, we just moved to the gateway because it only ran in 35 megs. Yeah. So we learned this by working with Silicon Labs. So
that's
Silicon
pretty cool.
Labs, we were collaborating with way back, and gosh, what was it, Aaron? 2014, 2015? And they said, look, we're building this stack, but we're putting it here in the gateway. And Aaron went up to the whiteboard. I remember the day, and he circled the gateway. He goes, this is where we marry each other. And he goes, we can put our software on this gateway and then do the syncing for you.
So do you think that helped you guys having Silicon Labs in town there with you in Austin and be able to collaborate?
Surely did.
I mean, you just made a huge statement. The whole thing runs in 35 meg, your gateway.
Yep.
That's great. Most people can't say that. Most people are like, no, we have this giant infrastructure to run our gateway.
It's the full stack. Yeah, I go back to working with Dell. Dell was interesting back in the day too, and they had a polyglot solution. They're like, oh, of course it can't all fit on the edge. And we're like, why? Right?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to point something out real quick because it could be underappreciated because we like to talk about technology on the show. But to the point a lot of you are making it, I mean, your platform looks the same. A lot of the lessons look the same in terms of business model, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, any of you who've actually sat down with Eric at a dinner and listened to this guy, I mean, he's like the ultimate sales dude, right? I think that's what, and I think that's an acumen that a lot of technologists may not have, right? A lot of people don't.
So true.
Yeah, and I think that the savvy, there's something to be said about savvy and the ability to see what's happening in the environment, the landscape, and navigating it, and then partnering with the right people at the right level, but then also knowing who your customer really is and focusing on that. And in my many conversations with Eric, that becomes an apparent thing. But I think that beyond the technology, I mean, it boils down to like basic, hey, how do you build a business, and that results in customers. Without that, you can shop your technology around at a technical level all day, but it all looks the same. You're never going to get a customer. You run into this whole POC hell thing that we've been seeing for the last however many years. And Edge is different. And I think that's one of the reasons why you see a lot of hyperscalers running away from it. The economics look totally different. They don't work. I mean, it's like saying, hey, Apple, you should get into the automotive business. Why don't you destroy your margins and get into a crappy ass business? And you guys
Leonard, Amazon's getting into they already are selling vehicles out of Amazon. So everybody, you never know what's going to happen.
Got to remember, Amazon is trying to get pretty edge too, with the retail. So people can't, you can't conflate or get.
Well, they tried and then they retreated. So once they realized the margins,
the edge is tough. It's different.
If you're running a hyperscale and you love those 80% margins, it's kind of tough to
cannibalize that.
Get another business, and your CFO is like, "Why did you do this? This is like half margins or whatever."
Which, by the way, we learned back in the .com era with the early e-commerce companies. But I mean, that's what makes all of this stuff really different, and why I think the hyperscalers, probably thought they could dominate. And guess what? It's a different world, and you guys lived it.
And continue to live it. Thanks for the kind words. I got to say that if Aaron and I weren't together, this would not be a thing. Like Aaron and I, we found each other. And it's a marriage of opposites. Let's be honest. I tend to like to promote and hype, but I can't do that without having something real. Because I'm a computer scientist, right? I used to be good at what I did, and I was moved into sales, and I was really good at selling what I believed in. I can't sell vaporware. I can't sell BS. And Aaron allows me not to sell BS. Him and the team we're a very engineering focused company that has been very under marketed because I'm not great at marketing. We just hired our first marketer, and Aaron allows us to be honest with what I'm saying. If I ever get outside of my lines, Aaron will whack me upside the head and say, no, let's stay within our lines.
Can we get some examples of BS? Can we get some examples of BS?
Oh gosh.
Just say it. Name names.
All right, okay, okay. Aaron called me out. Auto sync. When we wanted to sync between edge and cloud, we started talking to our customers. We had auto sync, and Aaron's like, "I don't know what that term means. We don't have it yet." I go, "I know that, but you will have it."
Sounds good
because this is what our customer wants, right?
Here's how I think Aaron, I think your buddy Eric prepares himself daily by watching Glenn Ross to get himself to excel. That's what he does.
Stick knives.
He watches it every night. And he's like, "Oh, okay, auto sync. You're gonna love it."
I thought it was Van Halen, like Dwight Schrute or something in the office, right? He's just slamming before he walks in. Yeah.
Hey, Rob, you just put that wrestling voice out.
Oh, I'm sorry about the wrestling voice. Wasn't that the most fun episode? That was so great.
That was legendary.
It was. I really miss not seeing
I
Aaron
crawled in more culverts, and
I still have people come up to me and they know us from Rob Tiffany and Aaron Allsbrook's debates.
We had so much fun.
I think we need to.
You know,
bring it back.
It was fun, and Aaron started the whole thing on LinkedIn, and it was awesome. And just having this battle back and forth LinkedIn, that was so much fun.
And the leading up videos, like wearing a hazmat suit or like showing up.
That was so awesome. You made it real. So you're right. When I think about differentiation for you guys, you were early to the edge, clearly. But then the next big thing I felt where you tried to differentiate yourself was this intelligent assets thing. And tell us about that. Was that like an overlay on top of your existing platform, or because I remember reading about it. I watched your videos that you made on YouTube about it, and I was like, oh, it seems simple.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you guys said earlier, you can't differentiate IoT platforms, piece parts, APIs, right? And the hyperscalers are still building a bunch of stuff. And quite frankly, you had to build on us. And we had like 4 customers that built the same lousy app, right, on top of us. And we looked at it and said, oh, these guys called it a dump truck. And these guys called their thing a railroad crossing. And these guys called their thing a water pump. And I'm like, why don't we just change the labels? So that's definitely where that came from. Of let's serve that end user, not the developer, right? And when I look at IoT Central, it kind of tried to do both, right? That goes back to who are you talking to in this application? And so that's just the full manifestation of taking away the platform from the story. What is it? The end journey. That's where that.
Yeah,
we were so enamored with our own technology that we were a little blind. And then when we took a step back and looked at what is slowing our customers down, what do they need? It was this concept of this application. They need the application out of the box, something that's flexible enough, but that's targeted at the user, not at the developer. I think that was again, the brilliance of Aaron and team, because I actually was kind of leaning back to my old roots. Let's do visual drag and drop, visual age. And then Aaron's like, I don't know what market that serves. If you're a developer, you want all code. If you're an operator, you don't want to see any of this mess. You want to see simple drop downs. So that was the realization.
Yeah, and I think that, and by the way, great to see you again, Aaron and Eric. But I think one of the things that I like a lot at least in your initial vision, I would like to actually hear where you stand right now, is the fact that you had this idea that you could bring partners that will have out of the box kind of support for ClearBlade, because one of the big issue, especially when I was myself at GE, I was saying, okay, where is the catalog of these things? Because we tend to all go back to the sensors. Okay, it's a new IoT project. I go back to the sensors. No, I want to buy a pump with out of the box, the thin layer of ClearBlade that can show me as an operator how it works. So do you see the market progressing towards this out of the box inside? Because once we have that, I think it would scale like crazy, because then it becomes easy.
So I used to say this on stage before the pandemic, which is we need IoT to work like my Sonos system at home, right? I buy a speaker, I configure it, and it just works. I actually heard, we had an all-day session at a customer last week, and this is exactly what they're building with us. They say, look, we're partway there, but we want this thing to be auto provision, very easy for our customers to set up. And so all that technology is hidden, right? All those manual steps. Aaron, you had a comment.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you talk about the ecosystem, I think there's still more to be done. I mean, one of the things that we kind of thought this place would go, and the hyperscalers took it a different direction, is I thought it would be kind of like a .NET or Java world where anybody could write an app that ran in multiple runtimes, right? Whether it was WebLogic's or IBM's and that didn't happen, right? Or it only runs in Amazon or it only runs in Azure. But we still have that approach, right? Somebody technically take our format and run it anywhere and integrate it, and it's just all open in that sense. And so I still hope we get there. I think that also really opens it up when everybody can play, and then we're just seeing who can make the best engine.
But is it open or is it portable?
So, I mean, in the end, you could export everything about us, and somebody could use open source to run those definitions that are in us, right? Same way you wrote a Java app or a .NET.
We piggyback off of NPM because we have JavaScript as our scripting language.
Yeah.
And so Aaron and team created a protocol called, or a package called IPM, where you can export all of the code, all of the authentication, all of the attributes of a system in ClearBlade, and anyone else can pick it back up and run it in their tool if they honored it.
Yeah. I mean, the reason why I'm trying to highlight that and focus on the distinction is because I don't see open, necessarily as portable, and portability is I think, that big benefit that you have.
Yep.
So just wanted to clarify that for you guys. Okay.
We're definitely more portable, but we also created an open standard now that's, if an open standard falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, what is it, right? That's kind of right. So we made our attempt.
And Eric, true. Can you guys talk about the experience of how easy it is to get a hold of you? Because I know on your site, like at the bottom of every page, I can go book a meeting, and that's really hard to see. When I'm trying to get... No, here's the thing. If I ever need to get a hold of Rob Tiffany, what I have to do is I got to call Steve Ballmer to do the light thing across the lake in Morse code so that Rob's neighbor can pick it up and tell Rob, David's calling you. It's a pain in the ass. With you guys.
Really? With Rob, I just shine a light in the night sky with his hair and his face, and it's just like Batman. He just...
I don't have the access, man. I don't have that access.
Usually Ballmer's calling me, developers. Yeah.
Just learn Morse code, David. It's easy.
Yeah.
Morse code every time.
I want to go back to intelligent assets because I think that was a differentiator for you. A lot of people don't understand why that might be a differentiator. I think, like at this thing I was at in Bellevue at the Hyatt last night, I was like, a whole bunch of platforms had everybody creating the Internet of Devices or the Internet of PLCs instead of the Internet of Things. And every platform had you focused, your mindset was this IoT device and associated sensors, and everything you were doing, whatever analytics or KPIs or whatever, it was about that device. And all of a sudden it got everybody in this mindset, and it was like, oh my God, it's the Internet of Devices. It's not the Internet of Things. The thing is, like you guys do, like I watch all your videos. It's this rail car. The rail car is the thing. Or it's this pickup truck or whatever. And so when you did this intelligent assets, you either abstracted, you had people thinking, well, all right, my thing is this rail car and here's stuff about it. And you're right. Combo boxes versus drag and drop, Node-RED things versus writing code. I was always curious hiding underneath there. Because I know that the rail car or the whatever your thing is that you try to make it simple, there's still a bunch of devices and sensors that send data on behalf of the rail car. And I don't know, when I watch the videos, it's like, where does someone actually have to set that up? I don't know. You guys illuminate me.
Great question.
It's still going on, right? That's why we have those products for developers underneath, right?
Okay.
And so that is our IoT Enterprise, which is an IoT platform, which has the APIs and the MQTT, all that stuff, the security model, the MTLS off, the asynchronous key, all that's there. There is a level of integration of, hey, I want a LoRa device. It's from a sensor manufacturer that didn't comply with a single standard ever known to man. And they have their own custom payload, and somebody's got to write a normalizer to that, right? There's some code there. But we turn that loose once, it goes into that ecosystem, like Marc talked about, that now is available for everyone to use. So we can't hide. You can't hide that layer, at least not today, because it isn't plug and play yet. But you can make it so if we all have a common view of what it looks like when it comes to the other side, We have it so that common view can be converted to many people's common views, the BMSs, whatever it might be, right? We now at least have that interchange, and we can hide that lower level of 32 devices. Aren't all 32 unique devices. It just happens to be one blender with 32 sensors on it, kind of thing.
And I'm not sure you guys gonna like that the way I say that, but I've always perceived it as a practical digital twin that actually works.
No, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. That's
it was driven. The design was driven by our aerospace customer, our rail customer, our ag customer. Like, these are all very different verticals, but they all needed different things. Hey, I need a heat map, and I need a tree hierarchy so I can create a rail car, because I'm putting sensors all over this thing, but I just need the context of a rail car. So let me build that tree diagram within intelligent assets without dropping in the code. We've invested a lot of time in UI, UX over the last several years, and that really paid off, because we're not then just building what we think the world needs. Our customers are pushing us to say, this is what I want, and then Aaron and team figure out, is that a core feature of the product, or is that a one-off that needs to be treated separately?
And I really think that the secret sauce here is what you were asking, Rob, is we finally have an actor in the IoT space that understands abstraction.
Yeah.
It's really that was my frustration when I was at GE. I mean, we had guys trying to reinvent serial data databases. Guys, we've done that. What you understand is the asset. Give me a representation at the functional business level of the asset and hide all the crap, because that's what you want. Yeah. So if we finally get to this point, this is really, really exciting. So.
Yeah. And do not custom build. That's the thing that we just kept focusing is, how do we do this as product and stay away from the custom building, because we want to be able to deliver a consistent product that is configurable, and then they can get ROI in days or weeks as opposed to months and years, or maybe never, with what we've seen over the last decade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aaron, question. What is your feeling of where edge computing and IoT is today? I mean, is it where you thought it would be today?
No, but nothing in IoT is where I thought it would be. I thought in 2012 we would be like exploded, right? I mean, IoT is here. No, I think the fundamental challenge is somebody's got to screw something in with IoT, right? You don't just connect your phone to the internet, right? Something's got to be screwed in, and that's unique every time. So no, I mean, edge is now real, though. I will say that, right? I mean, we are talking edge, we're marketing edge, we're partnering with folks like Marc at Edge. I mean,
Balena, we're partnering with Balena, right, Marc?
Yeah. So, I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
We see this stuff getting deployed. We see hundreds. We've got customers at 1,000 edges, right? These are big numbers for that kind of compute. That basically, I mean, that's like a 1,000 or 4,000 vCPU in the cloud. That's a big number of compute that's moved out into the field.
Can I say something controversial? Edge is more than edge orchestration of containers. End of story. Like, not that those things aren't needed, but we're doing the same mistake all over again, custom building everything for the edge and then moving it around. That's not going to get us to where we need to be to create intelligent, smart cities or intelligent infrastructure. We need applications that know how to use edge and cloud, and that sync.
You know, I was going to say I think we're obligated to talk about AI for 5 minutes, but where are you seeing like things like ML ops in your platform, and are people actually trying to push like AI model updates out to devices, or what's your take on that?
All right, so I'm the real guy, so it's early. We leaned into a couple open standards for moving models around. So customers write their models from a long time ago. They convert it to Onyx, Microsoft contribution, which is cool. We're about the inferencing. I think IoT is the real-time data flow, so the real-time inferencing. We have use cases where people are actually using this now. We've done it. Video's an obvious one. People are really using that one. We've seen some interesting stuff around predicting failure in the field. What's frustrating is when you talk to these intelligent assets folks, Rob, these people who actually are doing it, they don't care about any of this AI stuff, right? They don't want to have an AI project. They want you just to come back and show them a new attribute that says it's going to fail in 2 weeks, pal. Right? That's all they want.
They want the outcome. They want the outcome, not the
I think
so
you
you really
tell McKinsey that.
Yeah. I mean, you basically have to say, hey, we're going to give you some free data with some weather and some utility bills, and we're going to mix it with yours, and then we're going to let somebody else even almost run an experiment for you, and then you give it, you serve it all the way up. They're like, cool, man, thanks. And you never say AI along the way, but it's happening, right? It is happening.
We've had success streaming that data into AI companies' tooling. So we're AI agnostic, if you will. SaaS, I'll mention SaaS since it's public. SaaS Institute,
AI agnostic,
their products with us, and they're kind of the OG analytics and AI company out of Cary. And I was so happy because they came back to us and they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Look how much easier this makes the workflow. And Aaron and team and we didn't have to do much to get them wired up. I'm like, this is a great story. And now we can take that AI model and run that at the edge. So that unleashes that model from the cloud-only execution.
But I think you have a great point here, because going back to what I said earlier, what I think you do differently is that you really enable at the component level, and then you empower the customer to do whatever values they have. Because one of the very big danger with IoT, and this is actually a reason why there is so much openness, I believe, is that there is very little incentive for an industrial company that does, let's say, an oil drill to actually publish the intellectual property. But there is value in having the pumps, the compressors, the individual components to actually be easy to integrate into a custom IP-rich workflow. And that's one of the things that GE never understood. GE tried to stay at the level of top integration and proprietary and system integration. And that doesn't work. You're never going to convince the big industrial vendors to give that away. So if you work at the component of the platform and say, oh, now you have all this monitoring and prediction, do a work with AI and create something innovative that you can protect, they will be happy to do so. To me, that has been the biggest problem in trying to act at too high level and not favoring the component level where you do this kind of plug and play. So, and you guys do that, so that's really great. I believe that will accelerate at some point.
There's lots of stories I'd love to talk about, and we're just not allowed to. That's one of the most frustrating things is we have big companies doing what you just said, Dimitri, and it's just, they just haven't rolled it out in mass yet for it to be a marketable thing. So we just have to be patient and wait.
So, but again, I think it's coming from the bottom, from this edge layer. If you give monitoring and predictability at the component level, it's the stupid example I always give about a commerce website. I mean, you don't do a connection to MasterCard with a proprietary modem to do credit card transaction 2 days. You use a web service. So the day we can do that with pump and compressors, the market's going to go to the roof.
We're going to be like embedded in things and no one's going to know we're in there. It's going to be some other big company who understands their vertical. And actually, we're happy with that, right?
No kidding. I mean, you should be. I mean, that's exactly the model, the business model that needs to happen in order to get to the line.
Yeah, we shouldn't even be talked about. It should be company ABC who specializes in oil and gas drilling. That's what it should be.
Right.
Eric, you mentioned a little bit. I'm sorry.
Can
Marc,
I ask a question? It's hard to get the mic here today. A lot of questions. So actually, more or less everyone here has been involved on the IoT platforms wall. But do you think everything has been invented already on the IoT platforms? And how do you imagine the platforms in the IoT platforms in 10 years?
I'm going to let Aaron answer that.
I always regret this example, but I always say it for some reason. I still go back to, I just watch a few episodes of Star Trek and I figure out we haven't done that yet, right? I now, again, I hate saying it out loud, but I always had this stupid universal translator when they found some ancient alien artifact that suddenly could understand it. And I always thought that was a lie. And the other day I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, maybe Gen AI might help me just read the manual that somebody else did. And maybe I can write the integration off of that, right? And I hate leaning into it because, there's so much hype in that space, but I'm starting to think that stuff's real. So I really do think there's a world where somebody can upload the manual from 1956 and it automatically turns into an intelligent asset. Maybe 56 is old, but 1981.
Hey, 56 was a good year. Okay, stop it. I mean, some of us.
I'm just not sure how much is connectable for, but 81 might be a good one, right?
So. But it's still playing basketball, Steve. So
there you go.
You have a great point, Aaron, because documentation exists. So because the limitation of all this Gen AI crap is that if you don't have the right source and documentation, you have a problem. So there's probably an interesting initiative to get all this documentation.
Yeah, because obviously when you're creating your own GPT, you can take a PDF and upload it, and then it scans it, kind of summarizes it, and all of a sudden it's super searchable. And so you're right. You can imagine the next step after that is, all right, you made this part easy. Let's finish the deal, making an asset.
I'll put Aaron on the spot. We're launching Gen AI capabilities for intelligent assets next quarter. I've seen it. I've used it. I could demo it, so it means it's close, getting close, right, Aaron? So next quarter is there.
Woo!
Phase one.
But it looks good.
I mean, I think, so a couple of companies are doing probably something similar to what you guys are doing.
Sure.
They're kind of in the same state. But one of the things I noticed, and I advise a couple of them on, is that make sure that you understand what the Gen AI augmented SDLC looks like. This stuff is not magic. I've seen it even in the context of what you guys are probably looking at using it for, hallucinate. But it's more about making sure that you tap into the benefits of what the tool can do, and then how it integrates into the overall SDLC and then the CI/CD flow. If you don't do that, man, and they're missing pieces. When you see how these guys like model out the process flow from going from, let's say, some observability metrics that they have to pumping out some code or config file, they assume it's magic, and it's not.
The thing that we loved is we had intelligent assets. We spent years developing that, so we had a framework to hydrate, right? That made the Gen AI stuff easier. Now, look, I'll dumb it down to what I remember when I was a kid doing air traffic control. We built code in this 4GL called CSP, and then eventually we got good at coloring in between the lines, and we said we can automate this. So we wrote rec scripts to fill out. Yes, I knew Rob would love that. To fill out the string replacement to automate this. This is obviously, that's a rudimentary example of what we did back in the late 80s. But I think this is what you do with Gen AI. What we're doing with it is like, okay, use all this knowledge to fill in the gaps. You're not just coding from scratch. You are coding within a framework that automates this whole process.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's awesome. Looking forward to it.
I was writing Rex code on a submarine underwater.
Basically, you did everything I did, but on a nuclear-powered sub, so that makes you so much cooler. I mean, I was in an IBM office.
And with nuclear powers by the hand. So
just the fact that we
don't know why we don't know why we survive now. Because,
I just made sure that we had OS2 and Rex on a submarine. That's the takeaway instead of Windows 3.1.
MVS TSO. In Maryland.
You're telling us that nuclear warfare was just one comma away.
Hey, just thank goodness none of my code made it to production for air traffic control. So you all.
So, hey guys, before we wrap it up here, really quick, did we miss anything?
Gosh,
is there anything else that we need to talk?
What are the other secrets? Can you tell us like your business model, how people buy your product?
Is it all developers? I mean, are you selling only through developers, or is there a channel partner program? Or
there's channel partners. We're working with a number of partners. Google has been a really good partner because they've kind of picked up where we left. We picked up where they left us. So their sellers are actually promoting us. You get all our products easily on the Google Marketplace. The other marketplaces we'll eventually get to, but we're cloud agnostic, so you can run us in any of the clouds. So, you can contact us at clearblade.com. You can contact us at info@clearblade.com. I'm going to give out Aaron's personal cell number right now. But, ping me on LinkedIn, right? We're not a huge, massive company. We're under 50 people, but we punch way above our weight. We're proud of our engineers. And I think our secret, I say this all the time, we've been able to keep engineers 10, 12 plus years that graduated from really good universities in Austin, Texas, and Chicago area and all over. And that says something about what's being built, I think. Most of these people could go get higher paying jobs elsewhere. I'll be honest. and they're going to listen to this, and we're going to lose half our staff. Right?
Oh my God! They're like, what?
They're an amazing group of engineers, and they're very diverse, and they come from all different aspects. And I think that's really the secret sauce, is we've been able to keep them together somehow with what we're building here.
And online, you can go do your 30-minute demo. Will they learn a lot and get out of that what they need in 30 minutes?
Yeah, they will. They'll get at least the basics of intelligent assets and see what you can do for sure. And we're happy to walk anyone through it and tell lots of interesting stories about how it's being used.
Awesome.
Over the years, different platforms, just the way they charge, how they make money. I've seen by device, I've seen by messages per day, I've seen by size, I've seen classic, perpetual licenses for servers.
Yep. We do it we data volume for IoT Core to match what Google did. Everything else is by CPU utilization in the cloud and at the edge. So very simple. We try to get
like a server core license, or is this like
pretty much like a virtual CPU. Basically, said, look, how we're going to get charged in the cloud, we're just going to charge that amount and uplift it what we think the value is.
Cost plus 10. Whatever.
Yeah, and listen, we've got one customer that's streaming 10,000 messages a second that does this at scale, and we're very proud of our throughput. So, look, there could be a data model. All we know is at scale, we're very efficient, and we've proven we can be 60, 70% less expensive than other solutions in the cloud.
Because that's really different. A lot of people are trying to do it a different way. And so you had to do a lot of engineering, a lot of testing to say one virtual CPU can handle this kind of load, this IO, this CPU utilization. This is what we think's right. Okay.
Several hundred spreadsheets from engineering on trying to calculate this. And then basically the confidence to say we can handle a massive workload at scale. Let's just price it at this, and we should be able to make money. It's still evolving, and we're so far so good, right? We haven't had anyone break the model yet for us.
Awesome.
That's interesting. That's cool.
It's also, as I said earlier, it's not intrusive in the end result business model, because there's too many IoT companies trying to say, oh, you're going to save 10 million, give me one.
And you have the flexibility to take your football to another field if you don't like the field you're playing on, right? If for some reason I go from Google to somewhere else or Microsoft to somewhere else, weave yourself into the services that you enjoy and love in those clouds. That's how you make yourself sticky. But that's up to the customer. That's not what we tell them what to do.
All right, guys. So this is our 200th episode.
Oh, it's awesome, guys.
And thanks for sponsoring it. I'm sure the kids who are going to get those laptops and connectivity are going to thank ClearBlade. But, because we have David Vasquez on, he has to take us out. So do your duty, dude.
Again.
Folks, you're here yet again. You have made it to another episode of IoT Coffee Talk, a very special one. It's number 200. That is 3.84 years of data that will be scraped by GenAI and will be repackaged and feed this data into the population. We'd like to thank the team at ClearBlade for sponsoring this episode. And like Leonard mentioned, that dinero goes straight into elevator kits. We are trying to close the digital divide, one CPU and one platform migration at the time, okay? So thank you for listening. Remember, anything that you hear from us, do not short the company. Do not buy the stock either. Don't want to make financial decisions while you're here, but we appreciate you. We appreciate the downloads. We appreciate you hanging out with this crowd where we're not sponsored. We tell it like it is, and we are lifting the community. Thank you, and thank you again to ClearBlade, and we're going to see you guys next week right here. Like us, share us, tell your cousins, tell your mama, tell your Grammy. IoT Coffee Talk.
All right, David.
All right.
I love it. I love it.